Christian McCaffrey, welcome to the Seth Davis Show.
Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for having us. Look at this. I mean, this is Palo Alto, California. Crisp fall afternoon.
Yeah, not too bad at all. It's a pleasure coming here every day. You kind of forget, you get spoiled though, riding around and walking around the campus. You realize that you're in a pretty cool place. So.
Well, you've lived in Colorado most of your life, and now you're in Palo Alto. So you've lived in some pretty nice places, and it's early in the season. We're off to a great start. You had a terrific performance in the opener against Kansas State, and you've been off and running ever since. So what's the biggest difference between you now and 1 year ago?
I think just my comfort with the game and the speed of the game. I definitely have been more comfortable in the start. I think towards the end of the season last year I started to get there, but I'm bigger, faster, and stronger than I was last year, but also just mentally taking care of a lot of things in my approach towards actually playing on Saturdays.
I was just talking to Coach Shaw about you, and we talked about the fine line between being a perfectionist and allowing yourself some imperfections, because nobody's perfect, not even you. Is that something you're kind of still struggling with, being intense and competitive but still maintaining that balance so you don't get kind of paralyzed by it?
Yeah, I'll always struggle with being a perfectionist. I'm pretty hard on myself, but Coach Shaw nailed it on the head. You need to have a balance between being a perfectionist, but also not letting it affect your play. And so it's hard to do, but getting down on yourself isn't always bad as long as you don't let it mentally take you out of the next play or whatever, the next drive, or just staying mentally locked into the game.
Of course, a big difference between this time last year is, even though you'd shown some potential as a freshman, I don't think anybody saw coming what you did last season, breaking Barry Sanders' all-purpose rushing yard record for the NCAA. So now there's no more sneaking up on people. Now your hype has hype. Do you prefer coming in kind of under the radar, or do you like being the guy that everybody's looking at to do great things?
It doesn't matter to me. I think either way, I'm going to approach the game the exact same way, and it helps a lot having a lot of weapons on offense to take some loads off me. And so for me, I just approach it the same way and try to get as many yards on every carry as possible. And I think while people might be targeting me more, I also think that I have a better sense of the game, better knowledge of the game, so I can do some things to help me get out of situations.
What's the best part about having such high expectations, and what's the most challenging part of that?
I think the best part is definitely being able to work to defeat all the people that are targeting you, and just kind of getting that sensation that you overcame, everybody stacking the box or everybody doing this. But at the same time, the best part for me is, knowing that whether or not I have a great game or a horrible game, I got teammates around me that can do a heck of a job and help us win football games, whether I'm in or out of the game. And so that's probably gives me the most confidence, is knowing that I'm not in it by myself. And whether they put the whole team on me or one person on me, we're going to find a way to win a football game.
Well, as we all know from our reading, you come from quite the lineage of athletes. It's almost hard to keep track of everybody. Your grandfather, many people might not know, was an Olympic sprinter. Of course, your dad, Ed, an NFL receiver. Mom was a college soccer star. Uncle Billy won a national championship at Duke. You got one aunt played hoops at Georgetown. You got another aunt played tennis at Virginia. I'm trying to imagine what Thanksgiving was like at your house. Was everyone just trying to kill each other and beat each other and stuff, or was it a pretty competitive bunch, fair to say? And of course, you have three brothers who are great football players as well.
It was definitely a competitive household for sure. Me and my brothers would all the time, whether we're playing in the backyard or video games inside the house, we were always competing, and my parents too. But we did an awesome job making it fun. We definitely got in some fights here and there, but I'm probably closer with my brothers and with my parents than anybody. And so very thankful for them for allowing me to be in a household where we could compete all the time, but also at the same time be, a pretty happy family.
I mentioned your mom. She was a great soccer player here at Stanford. Aside from being a terrific athlete, being the mom of four boys. Now, I'm married to the mom of three boys, so I have a sense of the challenge involved in that. Did she kind of rule the house with an iron fist, or was she more the velvet hammer type?
No, she was definitely the head of the house for sure. My mom is probably the toughest person I've ever met. She's been through a whole lot in her life, and has definitely overcame a lot and done everything in her power to keep us happy and to keep a peaceful household and to keep us all together. And so couldn't thank her for doing all she has.
Was she the boss of the house, fair to say?
She was a boss. They had a good tandem, I'll tell you. My mom and dad had a very good tandem together. You know, my mom she was the yeller. She'd get on us, and my dad he'll approach you with a really quiet voice, and that's when you knew he was really upset. And then that's when you get
So I'm trying to figure out who was the good cop, who was the bad cop.
Yeah,
Sounds like
exactly.
she was the bad cop.
Yeah, definitely. But when the good cop, when he would get on you, you would definitely know.
You don't want the good cop to be mad, in other words.
No, not at all.
The Broncos are world champions.
Broncos proved they were hungry for a win tonight, and they sure got it.
It was just electric on the field tonight.
What's your earliest memory of knowing that your dad was not like other dads?
Oh man, probably when I was really little. I think it was after Super Bowl was in 1999, and I think I was 3 actually. And we have a picture up in my house. It's actually in Sports Illustrated. I was running on the field. I had a big curly afro and my dad's jersey on, and it was after the Super Bowl. It was confetti all over the place, and it was just me running on the field. Just kind of looking back at that, knowing that my dad had, just won a Super Bowl. That was probably the moment. But all throughout my life, he'd walk into grocery stores, getting asked for his autograph, and have different camps or autograph signings to go to. But that was something that I could easily look up to, because that's where I wanted to be in my life, was someone who has accomplished so much in the sport of football. My passion for football started at a very young age, and so looking up to a dad who's pretty much done it and done what you want to do in the future made it easy for me to be a son.
Was it difficult as you became a football player in high school, maybe feeling like you had to live up to something, or people were always comparing you to a Pro Bowl NFL wide receiver? Was it hard playing sometimes in his shadow?
I think when I was very little, it was definitely tough playing in his shadow, just because I was known as Ed McCaffrey's son, and that it didn't bug me, but it definitely stuck in the back of my head, and I would get frustrated every once in a while because of it. But pretty early on, I realized that my dad was a heck of an athlete and a heck of a person, and to accomplish all that he did is something that's very special, and like I said before, just something that's very easy to look up to.
He's 6'5". And your brothers are tall, am I right?
Yeah, all my brothers are tall.
So everybody got the tall gene but you?
I didn't get the tall gene.
What happened there?
I don't know. I think I got the speed gene. No, they're all fast.
That's a better gene, though. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, though. I always say that, and I realize my older brother's fast, and my younger brothers can move too. So I don't know what happened along the way. I used to actually make jokes to some of my teachers when I was in elementary school that I was adopted, because I looked nothing like any of my brothers. They're all tall, brown hair, brown eyes, and lanky, and I'm kind of the shorter, stockier, blonde hair, blue eyes, and don't look anything like them.
To a degree, though, I think as a running back, there's a better advantage to being smaller, right? You're built lower to the ground, you're harder to knock off, you're very strong. You may have the best stiff arm right now in the game. Is it better as a running back to be a little bit lower to the ground? I
think there's perks both ways, definitely. I think I like where my height is as a running back, right at about 6 foot. Because you definitely, like you said, the low center of gravity is huge playing running back. You need to be low, you need to be shifty, you need to be able to cut on a dime, and so you don't want to be too tall either, because people start diving at your legs, and you don't want that. But there's guys that make it happen. You look in the history books. Some of the best running backs in the NFL are 6'4" and 6'2", 6'3". So that's people make it work.
How tall are you really, by the way? We're not going to go back to back, because I'm pretty short myself. I know you're listed at 6 feet. Is that legit, or maybe a little bit tippy-toe?
That's legit, 6 foot.
We'll go.
I'll stand by it. But our strength coach does a good job of not giving us any leeway, so he'll have you do the exact measurement.
McCaffrey. Oh, what a step! McCaffrey changes hands down the sideline. Touchdown, Stanford.
I read so many stories about you preparing for this interview, Christian, and I wish I had $1 for every time I read the phrase, he's deceptively fast. He's deceptively quick. Is that something you've heard all your life?
Yeah, not all my life. It's always deceptively quick, I think, until someone plays against me and then they realize it's not really deceptive anymore. That, I take pride in being fast and being quick, and I think those are my two strong suits is speed and quickness and agility. And so, I think once you turn on the tape, I wouldn't like to think it's deception. I think it's pretty much there.
So I got some Heisman questions for you. I know you love Heisman questions. There are worse things to be asked about to a point where you're tired of it. But, of course, you finished in second place last year to Derrick Henry. And this narrative kind of emerges that because you play on the West Coast and your games start at 11 o'clock at night back east when a lot of the East Coast writers and voters are voting, that they didn't see you all that much and therefore that puts you at a disadvantage. Do you buy into that?
No, I don't buy into it because I think if you're voting for an award, it's your responsibility to watch all the games, and so I like to believe that everybody watched all the games, despite the start time. I know people all over the country might not have watched the games, but if you're responsible for voting for something and someone's up for it, I think you'd be able to see everybody's games that are up for the award. But then again, I don't know. I just know that I show up and play no matter what time the day it is, and that's all I can do.
I do think there's a case to be made that if that voting took place after the bowl games, that you would have at least had a better shot given what you did in the Rose Bowl against Iowa. And I frankly never understood why it is given out before the bowl season. They're the biggest games of the year. Let's take you out of the equation. Be an analyst for me. From a fairness perspective, do you think that maybe it would be better for postseason awards to be given out after the season is completely over?
I do. I think postseason after all the bowl games would make a difference. I think also for the people that are up for the award, it takes a lot out of their time preparing for the bowl game, traveling, doing all this different stuff before the bowl game, a whole bunch of interviews before you've played your last game. So there's a lot of hype on you going into this last game, and you still have another game to perform. And so, me personally, I think it definitely could benefit, voting after all the games have been played. But I see positives in each of them.
Do you have a chip on your shoulder at not having won it, or is that something that you kind of manufacture to motivate you and play with more of an edge?
I think I definitely have a chip on my shoulder. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's, because I didn't win it. I always have a chip on my shoulder, and that's something that my dad put in me since I was very young. I think it's that that it factor, that be a dog type mentality that I feel like I've had since I was very little, and it comes from a bunch of different things. But I just think at the end of the day, when I go on the football field, I really want to win in everything I do, and I think that's something that I've learned throughout my years is that I've been blessed with a lot of talent, and I think it's a sin not to give my everything to God every single time I step on the field. And that's kind of how I approach every single practice, lifts, runs, all that stuff, just because it keeps me going, and I think it spreads off on the teammates as well.
A lot of guys, Michael Jordan was famous for this. Anybody who said anything that could remotely be twisted into a slight, he would tape it into his locker or write it on his shoe or something to motivate him, and like, people are doubting me and all this. Do you look for that external motivation, or is it 100% from within?
No, there's definitely external motivation. I hear a lot of stuff. Out there that like Michael Jordan will get on your nerves. I don't necessarily tape it to my locker, but it's taped in my head, and I definitely remember that every time I play.
Summer of 2013, you spent 2 weeks on a mission trip to Rwanda. What'd you get out of that?
That was a trip that changed my life for forever, I like to think. You go there and it's a complete culture shock. You see houses built out of mud. You see these kids who drink a cup of porridge a day and that's their meal. And it's the happiest people you'll ever be around in your life. And they find joy in every little detail. I like to think that they really had an impact on me more than I had an impact on them, because you go there to a place like that and you expect poverty, you expect bad living conditions, you expect all these negative things going in, and yet you take out so many positive. And I look at how it impacted my life coming back to America from there, just realizing how blessed we are and how much we have that we take for granted every single day, like transportation, like a roof over your head, water, all these different things that people would really die for. But at the end of the day, they're a third world country that finds joy in everything. And so it's just extremely motivating to go to a place like that as a 16, 17-year-old and take an impact out of your life.
I read, by the way, you play a little piano. Are you any good?
I'm okay. I'm not bad. I play piano every once in a while, and it's just something to get my mind off life and kind of get in a different kind of zone. So that's something that I love to do. I learned when I was probably freshman in high school, and have done it ever since. But love playing the piano. Finally, you're a junior, which means at the end of the season you'll have the option to turn pro before you graduate, should you desire. Did not have that option last year because of the NFL's rules. What would be the determining factor
in that decision. For most guys, it's if I'm in the first round, I'm gone.
You know, I think I will answer that question after the season. You know, right now I'm not focused on it at all, but really just trying to win football games. You know, I don't know if there'll be a deciding factor. We'll see, but that's where I'm at in my mindset.
Well, listen, you've given us all a great ride. It's a lot of fun watching you play. So
Thank you.
as long as you're here, we're going to enjoy watching, even if we have to stay up late to see you. It's
I
worth
appreciate
it.
it. Thanks a lot.
Everybody.
Yeah,
I
thank you
appreciate
very
it,
much.
Christian.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here.
No
Best of
problem.
luck this season.
Thank you.
Just pretend like you like me for like 15 seconds, and then you can act natural.